We are back on Morning Line. Our guest, Tim Takis, elder law attorney. It's always great to have an attorney on the show because you can call in and get free legal advice. Typically, you charge.
I do, yeah.
You charge, which, you know, it is his job, of course. 615-737-7587.
Yeah.
I was wondering, are there any changes, you know, that have come about? You know, you talked about some of the stuff with Medicare right now, but anything with regard to any new laws or approaches to things like reverse mortgages, power of attorney, any types of things like this? Anything change with regard to wills?
No.
Nothing. That pretty much stays.
Those
the way
laws
it
are
is.
set. Yeah.
As is. How often do you have people come in that really, at a time of their lives when they probably should have had this stuff in place, they don't have wills yet? They don't.
A lot of times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's okay because, you know, they it's kind of interesting, Nick, because some of them come in and they're like their 70s or their 80s and they're going, well, we just haven't taken care of this yet.
Right.
Kind of like they feel a little embarrassed about it, you know. And I'll just say as well, it ain't too late, is it?
No, exactly. It's never too late as long as you're still breathing,
as long as you do it like, well, not quite. Because you have to have it, you have to be cognitively intact, not just breathing.
Well, now how, okay, again,
right. But
so do you make that evaluation when they come in? Can you tell if someone's not cognitively intact?
Well, that's part of my job is to make a determination. I have to make
Not that you're an expert on that, but if you have someone come in who clearly doesn't know, I mean, you're going to help them as best you can, and if they're not on the, they're not seeing things in a rational manner, what do you do?
Let's talk about that. I think that's a good, I think, you know, we haven't talked about that very much.
We have another call here or two, but we'll get those calls. But go ahead and hit that.
Well, what you're getting at is that people will say, well, you know, they come in and they talk about their mom or their dad, and they say, well, you know, we talked to the doctor, and the doctor said that, you know, Mama can't make decisions for herself anymore, you know, and my response is that we don't let doctors decide that.
Yeah.
You know, the decision of capacity is a legal concept.
So that's got to be a judge. But isn't the judge going to base that on maybe what the doctors say?
It is.
I would if I was a judge.
Evidence.
Evidence.
Yeah, that's all it is. You know, it is a determination of, okay, that if the doctor says, well, my patient has this, 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 and this, and the doctor, you know, and the judge is going to say, okay, that's very interesting. Now, what other facts do we need to bring in, you know, so that we can make a determination whether or not this person, you know, lacks the ability to make decisions for himself or herself.
Yeah.
So what have they been doing? What are their activities of daily living? What decisions have they been making and not making?
Would you say a fairly high threshold, Tim, for that? Because, I mean, what we're talking about here that people need to understand is we're talking about taking away a person's liberty.
We don't want to do that.
It's one step short of incarceration, in my opinion.
You got it. You got it exactly right.
All of a sudden taken away their decision, any human American's right to make their own decisions. That has got to be the final and last resort.
That's right. It is.
I mean, I can't even imagine doing that to my parents.
And you know, from, you know, being around Nashville long enough, that this problem, you know, it tends to percolate or surface every 10 or 15 years in the Nashville courts, right?
Yep.
You know, and I won't get into that because, you know, but it's just that. But your point is well taken, which is that it is or should be the last resort because you're talking about taking somebody's rights away from them. You know that. You know, the judges do the best they can, but they're only seeing, you know, they're relying on the bar, you know, the lawyers, you know, to bring them cases, and so they can make decisions, you know, and sometimes that system does not work very well.
Exactly, because you never know what the real motivation is sometimes, but the beauty of it, and I know this personally from with Tim, you are someone that always, regardless of who comes into you, is the advocate for the person that's at the center of all this.
Absolutely, and my view is that
you are looking out for them, number one.
Exactly.
Regardless of if their kids in there.
And my view of that is that, okay, we're going to do anything we can to make sure that that person is able to understand that document and understand what they're doing.
Yep.
They get the benefit of the doubt.
I agree. That's the way it's got to be. Listen, let's take a quick call from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, good morning.
Hello.
Hey, Elizabeth.
I have a question.
Sure.
If you have power of attorney for your parents, they gave it to you, do you also need a will if you already have a power of attorney?
Okay, so what's basically what is the difference between a will and a power of attorney? Okay, a will speaks at death. That's my best, easiest way for me to explain it. All right, that is your Altima document, right?
Okay.
All right, so I don't know, we need to get into Altima because that's your favorite will, but that's where you literally make a declaration or a writing or something that says, at my death, my stuff goes to here. That's what a will is. Powers of attorney don't do that. And when Elizabeth, she got power of her parents gave her power of attorney. Basically, she said, their parents said, if I can't make decisions for myself, or I need help, or you can make decisions for me, legal, financial, and personal care decisions.
Okay.
Those are what those documents mean.
All right.
They speak. So she speaks during their lifetime for her parents if she needs to.
Okay. Do the parents specify where that power of attorney can come into play, or is it general?
They can. Yeah, they can. They can say is that I don't want this power of attorney to go into effect unless or until I become disabled or
Something
incapacitated.
like that? Okay. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
Of course, that begs the question of when are you disabled or incapacitated?
Oh, right, which is what we were kind of talking about a moment
exactly.
ago.
And most of the times we find those what were called springing powers, which means the power comes into effect. It springs into being when you become disabled or incapacitated.
Yeah.
We don't like to use those in my practice.
Okay.
Because we get problems of how do you make that decision?
Yeah, now your answer then to Elizabeth would be, she still needs to have a will done.
Well,
would you say?
Well, certainly she needs. Her parents they need to take a look at whether or not they need a will.
Does that make sense, Elizabeth? I mean, probably they should.
Yes, I understand. Now, if you have guardianship, does it change?
If you have guardianship or conservatorship, well, a conservator. That's going to court and taking, the judge vests the rights of that disabled person into somebody else.
Right.
That's a conservatorship. Conservatorship is adults in Tennessee.
Right.
So, so what that means is that the judge says, okay, Nick, you're a conservator for your parents, and so, that means you have the right to make decisions about their legal, financial, and personal care issues. Okay, so you don't really. So a power of attorney typically is not. It's not needed.
It's not needed in that case.
It supersedes.
So do you have that as well, or you just have power of attorney, Elizabeth?
My dad gave me power of attorney, and then court gave me a conservatorship.
Okay, so why did you get both? Why did you have to have a power? Can I ask that question? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
My dad was needing some help, and I was having to deal with the VA, and I was having to deal with Social Security, and aspects of the power of attorney they weren't recognizing, so I needed the conservatorship. This was in the state of Kentucky where this all started.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So is it still in Kentucky?
We live here in Tennessee, but all that paperwork was drawn in the state of Kentucky.
Okay, so was it ever transferred to Tennessee?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
By the way, do laws vary from state to state?
Well,
on this
there's
type of
usually,
issue?
When she moved, when she moved or her father moved, I guess her father moved to Tennessee. Then the conservatorship is to move with it.
Right, that makes sense.
It would be a judge here in Tennessee.
That would address that.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing the basic laws for conservatorship.
They differ.
They do differ some.
They do differ some, yeah. Because
Really?
that's state law, yeah.
All right, and quickly, in terms of power of attorney, that allows you, if they become incapacitated, to make calls for them in the hospital,
Yes.
handle some of their financial affairs
Right.
while they're not, pay their mortgage.
Exactly, all
things
that
like
other stuff. Buy and sell property, borrow money, enter into contracts, do all those sorts of things that we do every day, and that's what that
Okay,
means.
but then, so the answer to her is probably still have her parents look and evaluate doing a will as well,
Right.
even though she has all these others in place.
Well, the issue there then becomes if her father is in a guardianship, I don't know that he can execute a will.
Oh, okay. See,
yeah.
at this stage in the game, so if he can't, then how? If and when he passes,
then it
are
goes.
his assets
It goes as if he had no will.
At all.
Right.
So it's just the timing and.
Yeah, and see that gets to be a problem too, because let's assume that and I don't mean to spin out tails here, but the point is that part of that then becomes okay let's say if her father has a spouse, he's married, and his wife is sick or something, there's no planning that he can do for her. He dies, leaves everything to her. Is that a good plan? Do they have a disabled or a special needs child, or do they have other reasons to do an estate plan other than just what the state says their plan's going to be?
Right.
They lose that opportunity to do that. The only option would be is that Elizabeth, if those are issues for her and her family, maybe she could literally go to the judge and say, I need help. The state's default estate plan is not working for me.
Right.
Is there state law that permits that? Maybe. And so it gets, you can see why this can be a problem.
As far as getting the power of attorney, is that hard to get?
No.
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 Would you suggest someone like myself give power of attorney to someone at my age?
Sure. Yeah.
Just in case.
I think everybody who turns age 18 becomes they become an adult. They should do powers of attorney.
Really?
Yes.
Because again, if you're incapacitated, regardless of the age,
you don't know.
But now, if I became incapacitated, would my wife not be the one making some of the calls?
No, not necessarily. She probably would, but if let's say that you became incapacitated and and you're going, okay, Nick and I can't live here anymore because it's not working out. Well, she can't sign the deed for you.
Yeah.
And that's, literally. That's why you have to you can't assume that, just because you're married doesn't give your spouse the right.
See, that's something to think about. We always think about this in terms of people that are older, but power of attorney is a good thing to do.
And that's why I say is everybody when they're, it's kind of interesting is they ought to have like a little thing, everyday law or something in high school, and say, all right, kids.
Yep.
When you come out of school, and you're 18 years old, these are the basic stuff that you need to do.
Yep. And there isn't something like that. It never would have occurred to me, but it could be done. Yeah. And keep in mind, the power of attorney doesn't kick in unless you're incapacitated.
Right. So you can draft it that way, and or it can be effective immediately, which is what we recommend. But as long as you have capacity, you can always revoke that document.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you typically will put that in the hands of someone you trust.
Yeah. And I always say is that if you're uncomfortable about having that person have authority over you now, why would you do a springing power?
Yeah. And
give them authority only when they become disabled or incapacitated.
Right.
Yeah, so...
Gosh, so much to think about. I'm going to have to get my act together. And like I said, you told me I need to get that with my folks.
Yeah.
It's not there yet. I better get on the ball.
Yeah, so your mom and dad don't have it either?
I don't think so. What? No, see, it's dragging my feet. All right, Tim, real quick, I want to give the contact information out for you. Let people know, just so you know
what we ought to do.
What's that?
Here's what we ought to do. I'm sorry, there it is. But,
okay,
I'm going to talk over this. But,
okay, go ahead.
What we ought to do is we ought to have a show, and all you guys come on, and we'll talk about your parents.
Who?
Like all like you and some of the other some of the the on-air folks here.
If they're willing to, see, I don't mind sharing that info.
Right,
some people may not.
And that's okay. If they wouldn't mind sharing, because I think a lot of your viewers would like to know that. Gee, you think Nick gets you think Nick has everything together? No.
No. And listen, people
like to see that. They like to say, hey, if he, they think that you've got a perfect life, and of course, in many ways you do.
But they know I'm pretty incompetent. Listen, I had the honor of coming to one of your gatherings.
You did, and we appreciate that.
Well, some of the people you work with are brilliant, the people dealing with their situation. I realized how far behind the 8 ball I was. That you've got them moving, but it's never too late to get it together.
Just good, exactly. Okay. It's information.
So let's put that info, contact. Because by the way, we're going to let you go a little early today because we have a Metro police officer coming on.
Okay.
I don't want to be arrested or anything.
No, he's not going to arrest you.
No, it's a she, and she won't. She'll probably give me a hug.
Yeah.
That's all right. We'll get into all that. But there's your information out there. 201 Walton Ferry Road. That's in Hendersonville, Tennessee.
It is Hendersonville,
you have several offices, though.
No, actually, just one.
Just that one now?
Just that one now.
Okay, all right. And the number is 824-2571.
Right, and you can go online and you can visit our website, and we do have an 800 number, which is somewhere. You can probably find it on our website,
on the website or whatever. But elder law attorney, you can call in, get consultations, and then from there, help an awful lot of people. Tim, you're terrific.
Thank you.
Thanks again. It's nice seeing you, my friend.
Nice to see you.
And, of course, your lovely wife.
Right.
She brought me pumpkin cookies.
She did.
Yes. Tim, we'll see you again soon. All right?
I'll be back.
Be right back with a special guest just to wrap up the show right after this. Stay with us.